Hello, my dear student. Welcome to Chat Smart English. My name is Sarah, and today I want to talk to you about something that changed my life, learning English. Learning English opened so many doors for me. It helped me make new friends, gave me more opportunities, and even made me more confident. But my journey was not easy. At first, I was scared. I didn't know many words, and my accent was different. I worried that people might laugh at me. But I didn't stop. I kept learning, slowly, just like a baby learns to walk. Maybe you feel the same way. Maybe you are afraid of making mistakes. Maybe you feel shy when you speak. But let me tell you something. Making mistakes is a part of learning. If you don't try, you can't improve. Learning English is like learning to swim. At first it feels scary, but once you start, you feel better. The more you practice, the easier it gets. One of the best ways to learn English is by listening. When you listen to English, you get used to how words sound. You learn new words without even trying. It's just like listening to your favorite music. The more you listen, the more you understand. You can listen to English songs, watch movies, or even listen to podcasts. This will help you get comfortable with the language. Another great way to learn is by speaking. I know it feels scary at first, but the more you talk, the better you get. You can practice by talking to friends, teachers, or even talking to yourself. Yes, I talk to myself in English sometimes. It feels funny, but it helps me improve. You can ask yourself questions and answer them. The more you talk, the more confident you will become. And remember, you don't need to know big words to speak English. Simple words are enough. Just try to say what you want in the best way you can. People will understand you. When I started, I was afraid that people might laugh at me, but I learned that if I don't speak, I can't get better. So, I spoke anyway. And guess what? Most people were kind. They helped me instead of laughing at me. If you ever feel nervous about speaking, take a deep breath, smile, and just start talking. It gets easier every time you try. The key is to never stop learning. Before we dive into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who's also looking to improve their English skills. Let's spread the knowledge and help each other grow. Now let's get started. The importance of practice and daily habits. Now that we understand the importance of listening and speaking, let's talk about something even more important: practice. You see, learning English is not something that happens in one day. It takes time, just like learning to play a musical instrument or a new sport. The more you practice, the better you become. One thing that helped me a lot was creating daily habits. Even if I was busy, I made sure to spend at least 15 to 30 minutes practicing English every day. It doesn't have to be a long time. Even small efforts can make a big difference. You can start your day by reading one page of an English book, listening to an English podcast while doing chores, or watching a short English video before bed. Writing is another powerful tool. I started writing a journal in English. Every day I wrote a few sentences about my day, my thoughts, or my goals. At first I made many mistakes, but I didn't worry about that. The more I wrote, the better I became. You can do the same. Even if you write just a few sentences, it will help you think in English. Another fun way to practice is by using flashcards. Whenever I learned a new word, I wrote it on a small card and tried to remember it throughout the day. You can also use apps like Anki or Quizlet to learn new vocabulary in a fun way. The key is to repeat the words again and again until they become a part of your memory. One more thing that helped me a lot was shadowing. This means listening to an English sentence and repeating it exactly as the speaker says it. You can do this with YouTube videos, movies, or even audiobooks. It helps you improve your pronunciation and rhythm. At first it feels difficult, but with time you start speaking more naturally. The secret to improving your English is consistency. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to practice a little every day. Even if you feel like you are not improving, trust me, you are. Every small effort counts. Just like a seed grows into a big tree, your small steps will turn into big progress. Overcoming fear and gaining confidence. One of the biggest challenges I faced while learning English was fear. The fear of making mistakes, the fear of being judged, and the fear of not being understood. If you have ever felt this way, trust me, you are not alone. Many English learners struggle with this, but the good news is that fear can be overcome. The first step is to accept that making mistakes is a natural part of learning. Think about how babies learn to walk. They fall many times, but they don't stop trying. The same is true for learning English. Every mistake you make is a step toward improvement. In fact, mistakes are not failures, they are lessons. So instead of feeling embarrassed, see them as opportunities to learn. One trick that helped me overcome fear was talking to myself in English. Whenever I was alone, I described what I was doing in English. For example, if I was cooking, I would say, "Now I am cutting vegetables. I need to boil water." This simple habit made me more comfortable with speaking. Another powerful method is positive self-talk. Instead of saying, "My English is bad," say, "I am improving every day." Your mindset plays a huge role in your success. The more confident you feel, the better you will speak. If you feel nervous about speaking with others, start with small steps. Practice with a close friend, join an online English speaking group, or even talk to a language exchange partner. I remember my first conversation with a native English speaker. I was scared, but I took a deep breath and spoke. I made many mistakes, but in the end, the person understood me. That small success gave me confidence to keep going. Also, remember that most people don't care if you make mistakes. Native speakers appreciate the effort you are making. In fact, many of them only speak one language, so they respect people who are learning a second language. Instead of focusing on being perfect, focus on being understood. The more you practice speaking, the more confident you will become. It's just like swimming. You can't learn by watching videos. You have to jump into the water. The same applies to English. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start speaking now, and you will see your confidence grow. Expanding vocabulary and thinking in English. As I gained confidence in speaking, I realized that my biggest limitation was vocabulary. I often struggled to find the right words, and this made my sentences incomplete or awkward. If you feel the same way, don't worry. Expanding your vocabulary is easier than you think. One of the most effective methods I used was learning words in context. Instead of memorizing long lists of random words, I focused on words that appeared in my daily life. For example, if I was watching a movie and heard a new word, I paused, looked it up, and wrote it down. Later, I tried to use that word in my own sentences. This method helped me remember words naturally. Another trick that worked wonders was using flashcards. I created digital flashcards with a word on one side and an example sentence on the other. Every day I spent a few minutes reviewing them. The key here is repetition. Seeing the word again and again helps it stick in your memory. Reading also played a huge role in building my vocabulary. I started with simple books and gradually moved to more complex ones. Whenever I found a new word, I guessed its meaning from the sentence before checking the dictionary. This made learning words feel like a fun puzzle. But vocabulary alone is not enough. To speak fluently, you need to start thinking in English. At first, I used to translate sentences from my native language in my head before speaking, but this slowed me down. So I made a simple change. I started describing my thoughts in English. For example, when I was walking down the street, I thought in English, "The weather is nice today. I see a man wearing a red jacket." This small habit trained my brain to process information in English, and over time I stopped translating. Another great method is speaking with yourself in front of a mirror. I used to stand in front of a mirror and talk about my day. It felt silly at first, but it improved my fluency and made me comfortable forming sentences quickly. If you want to think in English, start small. Name objects around you in English, describe your routine, and practice forming sentences in your head. The more you do this, the faster your brain will adapt. Soon, English will feel natural, and words will come to you effortlessly. Practicing speaking and overcoming fear. Learning vocabulary and thinking in English were important steps, but I knew that real fluency comes from speaking. However, like many learners, I was afraid of making mistakes. I worried that people would judge me, and this fear often stopped me from speaking. But one day I realized something important. Mistakes are part of learning. Every fluent English speaker once struggled too. So I made a decision. I would speak English whenever I had the chance, no matter how many mistakes I made. One of the best ways I practiced was by speaking with myself. I would describe my actions as I did them. I am making coffee. The water is boiling. Now I am pouring it into my cup. This simple exercise helped me think and speak faster. Then I started talking to others. At first, I practiced with language exchange partners online. These were people learning my native language, and we helped each other. Talking to them made me realize that fluency is not about perfection, it's about communication. Even if my grammar wasn't perfect, they understood me, and that gave me confidence. I also made it a habit to repeat sentences after native speakers. Whenever I watched a movie or listened to a podcast, I paused and repeated a sentence exactly as the speaker said it. This helped me improve my pronunciation and rhythm. One trick that helped me a lot was shadowing. In this technique, I listened to a short English sentence and repeated it immediately, trying to match the speaker's tone and speed. It felt challenging at first, but over time it made my speech smoother and more natural. The biggest breakthrough came when I forced myself to speak in real situations. I remember the first time I ordered food in English at a restaurant. My voice was shaky, and I made mistakes, but the waiter understood me. That small success motivated me to keep going. If you're afraid of speaking, remember this. Fluency comes from practice, not from waiting until you're perfect. Speak as much as you can, even if it's just with yourself. The more you speak, the easier it becomes. Immersing myself in English speaking regularly helped me gain confidence, but I knew that to truly improve, I needed to surround myself with English. I had read about immersion, how people learn languages faster when they are constantly exposed to them. Since I couldn't move to an English-speaking country, I decided to create my own immersion environment at home. The first step was changing the language on my phone and social media to English. It was a small change, but it forced me to interact with English every day. Suddenly, I was reading English messages, notifications, and settings without even thinking about it. Next, I replaced my entertainment with English content. Instead of watching movies in my native language, I started watching English TV shows with subtitles. At first, I needed subtitles in my language, but soon I switched to English subtitles. Eventually, I watched without subtitles at all. I also started reading English books. At first, I chose simple books like children's stories or graded readers. When I found a new word, I didn't stop to translate every single one. I guessed the meaning from the context. This helped me read faster and think in English more naturally. Music became another powerful tool. I listened to English songs and tried to understand the lyrics. Sometimes I even wrote them down and practiced singing along. This improved my listening skills and made learning fun. One of the best things I did was keeping a daily journal in English. Every night I wrote about my day, my thoughts, and my plans. It wasn't always perfect, but it forced me to think in English and express my ideas. Over time, I noticed my sentences becoming more natural and my vocabulary improving. I also surrounded myself with English-speaking communities. I joined online forums and discussion groups where people talked about topics I enjoyed. Whether it was a Facebook group about movies or a Reddit forum about self-improvement, I made sure I was reading and writing in English every day. The more I immersed myself, the more natural English felt. It was no longer just a language I was learning, it became a part of my daily life. That's when I realized something amazing. I had stopped translating in my head. I was now thinking in English without even trying, mastering English and embracing the journey. The moment I realized I was thinking in English without effort was a breakthrough. It felt like my brain had rewired itself. Conversations became smoother, and I no longer hesitated before speaking. I wasn't translating in my head, I was just expressing my thoughts naturally. But I also knew that language learning never truly ends. There is always something new to learn, a new phrase, a different accent, or a more natural way to say something. So I made a promise to myself. I would keep growing, keep improving, and most importantly, keep enjoying the process. One of the best things about learning English fluently was the confidence it gave me. I could now talk to people from different countries, watch movies without subtitles, and even think about future opportunities that required English skills. It wasn't just about the language anymore. It was about the doors it opened for me. If you're on this journey too, remember this. Fluency doesn't come overnight. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Speak every day, think in English, and immerse yourself as much as possible. The more you practice, the more natural it will become. So, if you've been translating in your head, try this. Start with simple words, build your thinking habits, and surround yourself with English. It may feel difficult at first, but trust me, one day you'll look back and realize you did it. You became fluent. Now, tell me, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to thinking in English? Let's talk in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more English-speaking tips, and check out our other videos to keep improving. Thank you for watching Chat Smart English. Keep learning, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.